Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Guitar Gear Locker. This is episode 10. My name is Alex Books, and this is my co-host Roger Sutherland, and I'm happy to have our guest tonight, which is my good friend Zachary Ezrin of the amazing Imperial Triumphant. And
Thank you.
thanks for coming on tonight, Zach.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, man, same here. So basically, I just want to kind of, if we can go back to, if you could remember what it was, what got you into music, and was there a moment that you remember that you were like, I'm gonna be a guitar player. That's what I want to do.
Oh, there was a moment. It was probably like 96, 97. There was some cassette that I heard that was like a soundtrack to a movie, and they had a Hendrix Foxy Lady on it. And I was like, you just have that moment, like every guitar player, just like, yup, that's it. That's what I'm gonna do. Like I need to
Um,
make those. I don't just want to listen to it. I want to make the noise. I want to understand it. And that sort of just led me down my journey of like, just, it's kind of peculiar, I suppose, because you don't know why you're leaning towards heavier music as a child. But like when I got my first electric guitar, my uncle comes in. I'm like fucking around on it for an hours. And he comes in, he's like, there's a little red button. And if you press that, that's the overdrive. And once I discovered the overdrive, I was like, oh yeah, that's what's up. That's what we needed. You don't
yeah.
even, something I didn't even know that I wanted in my life is right now happening to me. So it's quite strange, I suppose. Yeah.
Oh, well, I know the feeling is Hendrix.
Yeah.
It was actually Hendrix and Peter Townsend for me that I heard those guitar sounds when I was a kid, and that's when I knew, hey, this is what
It's the
I
best.
want to do.
It's the best.
So you, you know the thing about with Imperial Triumphant, I would consider you guys one of the most unique bands out today, and that
Thank
you
you.
know we kind of live in a day and age where a lot of the newer bands are just kind of in
Cookie
certain ways
cutter.
like influenced by what happened in the past and kind of taken from that, where you guys and so I would I would consider Imperial Triumphant more of an avant-garde band, even though I know you guys kind of get lumped in with the metal community, and I think because of the darkness in the music and the extremity of it. But I would consider you guys probably the most unique band out today. And we live in a time where there's a lot of bands that just kind of go backwards and are just kind of copying what was done years ago, and where you guys are just kind of are this fresh thing that like it's a sound that I haven't heard, and it's kind of a sound that I've been looking to hear something
Thank you.
in music. So was there a conscious vision of what you guys were shooting for, or was this something that happened by accident that just kind of happened naturally?
It's definitely by accident, but definitely by an organic evolution. Like I came from a classical avant-garde or modern classical background, and I wanted to do that in metal and be very like technical and dissonant. And then
Mhm.
I ended up with this lineup of that I have my rhythm section now, Kenny Growski and Steve Blanco, who are both guys coming from they each spent 20 years in the jazz scene when I met them.
Right.
So, and they were bringing in all these influences like, well, hey, what if we just kind of played this part loose? Or what if we did this spot and it was kind of like not, like more polyrhythmic and less super mechanical. And I was thinking like, uh, like kind of nervous, I guess,
Mhm.
giving up creative control to not only other people, but also just chance. Like you just being like, all right, yeah, well, this part will just be kind of free and loose, and then we'll come back in here, or or this will be a, we'll play without a click track, and every recording will be slightly different tempo, like stuff like that. I really had to push myself to be open-minded about that sort of thing and let go. And now that I have, we've fallen into this, crazy pit of exploration now where anything's possible. And you're absolutely right. Is it, can we be considered more than a metal band? Absolutely. Yeah. We definitely fit into that, like, 70s, 80s New York City art rock world that, John Zorn and even like earlier, like Lou Reed sort of stuff. Yeah. And, there's so many we pull from so many different cultures and genres between the three of us that it's, but I would say that it's definitely filtered through a metal, lens, I guess.
Right.
We're playing
so that would be more your background, I guess the metal element, coming into it.
Yeah, but even like, we haven't really done any, like, I mean, I think we had Jazzwise magazine gave us a review once, but like beyond that, like we've never played any jazz festivals or, avant-garde music festivals or any of that sort of thing. It's always been metal. And I think I like that, of all the obscure subgenres to, or like the underground genres of music to play, I think metal is probably the best, Of all the scrounging for money that there is in the music world, I think metal is like probably one of the best ones for, making a living off of,
Right.
So it's there's such a dedicated following in the metal, scene compared, if you compare it to a lot of other music scenes or genres, it's like fans are so dedicated to it, and they live for it, But I think they've also gotten a bit more open-minded. It's like, I know for you, like when you go to Europe, people are a little bit have more of a wider range of taste. Like when you play a festival,
depends
like
where you play.
know.
Germany is still a tough nut for us to crack, but then we go to Poland or somewhere like that.
Germany's tough for everybody. I think
Germany's like,
yeah.
You don't give them 4 on the floor; they're just like shaking.
Oh yeah. You're wondering, like, do we suck that bad or what? It's like, and sometimes they're into it. They're just taking it in, and But I get it.
Well, and it sounds like you kind of. Well, I was going to ask first if you brought the uniqueness in, but it sounds like that uniqueness comes from the three of you together collectively.
This band existed before that lineup for maybe 4 years or so. And we really made very little headway with my, pseudo Gorguts thing I was doing. Right. Like no labels interested, no show, like 1 or 2 shows a year. And it was only once I got this band together that we really, and we put out Vile Luxury. That was when people really started to pay attention to us, because I think we started to break into our own sound and do something different and unique. And that's kind of always been my thing. I always wanted to do something different, like Immolation is an unbelievably great band, but I would feel so foolish to try to sound like them, because I will never play as well. I will never play Immolation as well as Immolation does. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, one thing you just said right there, you said about, I'd never want to sound like you guys or whatever. And I love that, because, nowadays, like I said before, a lot of these bands, they're just trying to copy something. And I'd much rather hear, newer bands just speak their own voice. It's like, I always had my influences, but I never wanted to sound like any of them,
Yeah. And I think a lot of bands that are taking from the 90s metal era don't really realize that, like, those bands that came out in the 90s, they were breaking out of the 80s doing their own thing, like they were trying to push the vanguard forward. And I think that's really important. And there's definitely a few bands out there that are doing that. And I think that that's super important, because if not, then we're just going to end up with a New Orleans Jazz Fest situation where it just gets watered down and it just becomes the furthest thing from jazz. Or people just start, you get in a classical world where it just becomes like what's that snake that eats its own tail sort of thing, like,
Right.
you need the genre needs to grow, and there's always room to grow. You just have to push people, and it's never changed. Like the 90s metal scene, and I wasn't even around in the 80s, but like, I'm certain that the 90s stuff was met with a little, whoa, this is too much, that compared to its predecessor. And every decade after, it's pushing it a little bit further and pushing what people are considering, like regular metal. And I think that's really important.
I think that's something that is definitely different about metal. Is it seems like it's constantly evolving, and some of these podcasts we've talked about, the newer bands wanting to be like the 80s bands, but when you do that, you kind of create this almost like this cyclical inbreeding, and then you end up with what we have in mainstream with pop.
Right? Exactly. And what happens
you
when
end up with the same thing?
Quality goes down, DNA in the toilet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Gene pool's not strong enough, and then you just get these watered down garbage.
Yeah. Well, you all definitely aren't recycling old stuff. That is pretty innovative and different for sure.
No.
Well, thank you. We're trying very hard, so I'm glad that it goes noticed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a breath of fresh air for me to hear you guys, because I'm so just not interested in much music of today, and to hear something that was unique and avant-garde. And actually, one thing I wanted to talk about, like the songwriting. So a lot of the songwriting you guys do, is it kind of like where you guys are just kind of getting in a jam session, just like free forming, just
it's literally anything.
There's no formula. There's no formula. Whatever works.
Sometimes we're just in the studio jamming. Oh, that's a cool idea. What can I do over that? Okay, let's expand on that. Let's make a whole song out of that.
Wow.
That was like Atomic Age. That's how that's born. And then there's songs like Swarming Opulence, where Kenny Grahowski came in with sheet music for everyone, everything note planned out, and we just learned it and played it and loved it. There's no rules, there's no anything. It's whatever works, and stuff gets thrown out, stuff gets tweaked. And that's the one thing I really love about this band and the music that we play, is because we don't perform to a click track. Over the years, the music evolves, much like sort of like a Grateful Dead sort of thing, where if you heard us playing one song in 2018 versus you hearing it now, it's changed. I mean, it's the same song, but tempos and notes, they shift and twist and evolve and grow. And I think that's so cool, because then the song is almost like it's alive,
Right.
Yeah. And I think that's the magic of improv, and
that's
a
real improv right there.
Anymore,
People think improv is just everyone playing whatever they want at the same time. That's not it at all. It's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
It's a conversation versus people like actors reading from a script. Like, sometimes you're not playing parts, but you're still listening and talking to the other players with your instruments. And I think that is something that we are fortunate enough to have the ability to do, just because we've played together for so many years, that it's, we become quite familiar with the voices, you could say.
Right.
So how did you find Steve and Kenny? How did that happen?
It's so funny, man. It's I found Kenny because I was playing with another drummer, just like local gigs and stuff. And we played a show with this band, Alakeen's Gun, who have Jess Pimentel as their singer, really great vocalist. And Kenny Grahowski was on drums. And I was just, I was watching him shred, and I was like, that's the guy. That's who I need, you know? So I slowly just sort of integrated him into my band, like trying to like get him to the guests on some stuff. And I think that, you know, it was the moment that we played together is one of those things where we're just like, oh, this is a good connection. You know, we're really gelling. You know, some musicians you just have that connection with. And also he can write, which is phenomenal. You know, he's not just a player, but he can bring in tunes. And I think that's so valuable because we write really fast now because it's not just one person coming up with 9 songs. It's, I only have to write a third of the album now. And then Steve, I was like, I'm dying to go on tour. Nobody wants to go on tour with me. I'm 25. I'm dying to hit the road and start playing. I love music. And so I get an offer, but the guy who's playing bass with me doesn't want to go on the road. So I put a Craigslist ad out, and I get 2 replies. One of them, Steve. The other guy can't read music, so Steve gets the job. And he was a perfect fit because he is coming from the New York jazz scene. So him and Kenny already had like a huge crossover of people that they knew, and he's a really good. He's really good on the road. He's an unbelievable player, and it just happens to be that he like fit in so perfectly. It's so serendipitous, and it was so. You know, he also told me that he was like, "This is the only Craigslist ad I've ever responded to in my life." You know, like it's really uncanny and weird, but like whatever. That's the universe making this band happen, I suppose.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. And Steve does the videos as well, doesn't he? Or he has some part.
You know, he's an older cat, and he spent a lot of his life not just playing piano and bass. Oh, by the way, when he joined the band, he'd been playing bass for like 3 months. So that was kind of nuts. That I was like, wow, you're really good for 3 months. But you know, he spent 20 years playing piano. That helps. He also is a filmmaker, so he has, you know, this really unbelievable ability to direct, and I've taken on the role as a producer now because I'm also really interested in music videos. So we've been producing all the Imperial videos for the last 10 years or whatever, and it's been a really, really great way to express the creativity and vision of the band in a sort of a more visual format, I guess.
Holy cow! You all are doing that.
I'm doing everything, man. I'm wearing.
Wow, that's phenomenal. They are super interesting.
Yeah. Completely unique and dark, and like you know, I think I guess it was the first single from the last record where I think Kenny G plays on, and it just reminds me of like something. It's the cinema. You know, it's like The Shining kind of meets. You know,
I mean, we're pretty much we're ripping off Kubrick pretty much. You know, like which video are we going to rip off Kubrick? Like which video? You know what I mean? Like which movie we're going to rip off next? You know, like that's all we can. We love that stuff,
right?
Yeah.
Kubrick, and we did a video that was like inspired by Persona. You know, like Tarkovsky and like oh, that's not Tarkovsky. Sorry, that's Ingrid Bergman. But also we like Tarkovsky, and all that stuff is really, I think, important because I think a lot of music videos lately have been pretty weak, and so I'm just like, why not try, you know, if we can, see how it goes, and it's always fun. I like music videos, and it does. Does help you present the music, you know, and especially this kind of music, we need all the help we can get, you know.
Well, you know, I think with music, it should, all of that is all equally important, you know, the imagery and everything, you know, the lyrics, words with music, you know, so it should reflect, you know, it should reflect the music properly, you know, and you guys do that perfectly, I think.
Thank you. I really don't think this band would be as successful if we didn't do all that shit, you know, if we were just out there playing in our regular clothes and didn't have this whole world behind it. It's not as exciting, I don't think.
Well, and I think it's smart. You'll do some out of the box. I hate to use that again, but you know, when you hear Kenny G's in one of your videos, you watch this and you go, like, how do you work that in? And it worked. It worked. It was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
He can shred.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
can. Yeah, he can.
So I guess we'll get to the guitars, and you have a a unique way of playing, and I know, I notice a lot of stuff that you do. You have like the whammy bar kind of playing along with the riffs and stuff like that,
Yeah,
Uh,
always. Like maybe
yeah.
90% of all my playing in Imperial, I have the whammy bar in my hand. Even if it's
Hmm.
not being like utilized for like a this kind of thing,
Uh-huh.
I just tremolo picking, you have the whammy bar in your hand and you're getting this light oscillation where things are just ever so slightly going out of tune. And I really like that. We don't
Hmm.
do a lot of like intentional microtonal stuff, but this is very unintentional microtonality, which I
Right.
think just, I don't know. I want the goal of Imperial Triumphant is to inspire terror in the listener, It's not
Yeah.
about, it's not like, a lot of death metal, which is like seemingly connecting to the, inner caveman and brutality of a person's soul. This is more like you're watching a really well-made horror movie and you're not sure what the fuck is going on. Like
Right.
that's
Yeah.
my intention. And so creating sonic dissonance and rhythmic, like, I guess complexities, sort of help with that. And the whammy bar is like, yeah, that's all I do. That's my bread and butter. The Floyd Rose tremolo, original German made.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
So when you're in the studio, you know, is there like a go-to guitar, or is there a lot of different guitars for a lot of different sounds and things like that? Because I always felt that different guitars, they make you play differently, and I always like to have a couple different guitars, like
Yeah, I bring a
and
lot
they make you play and write differently as well.
for sure.
Different.
I recorded most of Imperial Triumphant with this Jackson King V that I've had since I was a teenager, and
Hmm.
it's a Jackson King V. Like literally, it'll never let me down ever. I could die and it's
Right.
still gonna be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've recently made the switch over to Gibson, and now I'm endorsing them, and so I've been using more Gibson products on the road, and they're also a totally different experience. And so I'm going to be using more of that in the studio. And then also I have my little secret is like I go classic Fender Strat for like just this pepper in every once in a while,
Hmm.
because you really can't get a Fender Strat sound with anything else,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need one. Just
Yeah.
sometimes you
Yeah.
need that, like you need that sharp twanginess
Hmm.
that only those guitars can give you. So I bring that sometimes in the studio, and then I don't know. I'm thinking about maybe putting like for the next record, doing like some 7-string stuff just to have that lower note,
Mhm.
because I'm in standards, so I don't really go that much lower, but I don't
Can
know.
you tell me a little bit about this? I noticed you've been for a little while. You've been using this Gibson, and I'm pretty sure I remember that guitar because they were made. I'm pretty sure maybe in the late '80s,
Yeah,
and
that's
some
a
humbucker,
Which one
Gibson
and
is
they
it?
didn't make it very long.
It's a
So
V90 double, actually. That
oh, it was a P90.
It's a
You said
V90
oh
double.
V90. You said
V90, yeah,
V90.
that's the
Okay.
model. It's like a late 80s, early 90s model that they didn't make that very many, but it's one of the few Gibsons that comes stock with Floyd Rose, and that's
Right.
what we
Yeah.
discussed. What we discussed. It's a must-have.
Right.
Mhm.
So I got this one and I stripped it down, put all like gold shit, lightning bolts, pulled all the fake EMGs out, put in, right now I have a 498T in the bridge, which is like pretty fucking sick Gibson pickup. and I don't need for Imperial, like I don't need a neck pickup, you know what I mean? Just
Right.
weighing, it's just weighing me dead weight, you know.
Right.
Yeah,
It's pulling on the strings with the magnetic force.
Yeah, I don't need that shit. This is, you know, for other bands and other styles of music I might play, for sure, very important.
Mhm.
But for heavy metal, you just need one, you know, dirty bridge pickup, and it's got 24 frets, which is also rare for Gibson. Ebony fingerboard, also rare for Gibson.
Oh yeah.
And let me see. Think. And then it also has this weird Steinberger like kickstand at the bottom, which I love. Like, because it makes it so that you can play the V sitting down like you would with like a Strat or any other sort of cutaway guitar. And you can play it like that as opposed to like sort of a classical between your legs position. So it's kind of cool. It's a quirky little feature, but I'm not going to take it off. It's dope.
I need to look that up.
Yeah, look up the V90. They're super. Every once in a while they pop up on Reverb, but they're very uncommon. I don't think they're very valuable either. Like, but whatever, who cares? They're cool. And I love
I remember seeing them. They made a V and an Explorer, if I'm correct.
And they also made a SG shape.
Oh, okay.
One.
Right.
Yeah, I think it was like them trying to compete with all the shredder guitars that were coming out in the 80s, and then being like way too late to the game. And like by the time those things were in production, like people weren't buying, you know, that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah. Fender did that too. I remember it was around the same time, and they had like it was like a Fender shredder guitar or whatever.
Yeah,
because they were trying to, all the companies trying to compete with Charvel and Jackson back in the day.
Yeah, of course.
I think I saw you playing that Gibson in a video, and then I saw another video on it, and I said, "No, that must have been that Jackson." Because
not really. I mean, they look the same because I just covered them in gold. Like my dream is to have a gold flying V, and I can't find one, and no one will make me one. So I just made the pick guard as big as possible and made it gold. So from far, it looks like it's like a guy's playing a gold guitar, of course.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pick guards. He made it all gold and shit. It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a beautiful guitar.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I just dropped it off at Gibson today for some repairs and stuff because they get
nice.
They get beat up after, you know, getting dumped with champagne every night and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's right.
When you're at home playing, what's your grabber there?
Great question. It varies, you know. There's like guitar of the month that lately I've been playing this guitar that is like a prototype I got from Gibson. It hasn't come out yet, but it's basically a reissue. I think they're gonna reissue it. I don't know. But I've been playing that one. It's on my Instagram. It's a blue one. It's cool.
Oh.
My favorite one I have is the Gibson Explorer. That's like, I got that from them, and it still has all its stock shit in it. It's unbelievable. Like, just I'm now like fully converted to the 24 3/4 length necks. Like I truly find them more comfortable, and I have big hands, but I just like it more. And they shred. I love that one a lot. I have a jazz manouche guitar, like a gypsy jazz acoustic that I play in the right season. Still a little cold to pull it out, you know, but I fuck with that one a lot. And what else am I doing? Oh, and then I have a cool like D'Angelico fake, like 335 sort of style, like a red. It looks like a red 335, but it's a D'Angelico double cutaway, which I really, really like. And those guitars are actually pretty good bang for your buck.
Yeah, that's a wide range of guitar taste. That's cool.
Well, I've played like a lot of styles. You know, in my 20s, I did a lot of gypsy jazz gigs and hotels and weddings. Then I did a lot of swing and blues gigs in like restaurants and shit, and just, you know, having to have different guitars for that purpose. You know, I had like a Ibanez like fake White Falcons thing that I got in college, and that was just it looked nice, but it wasn't really cutting it. So then I went and I bought this Fender Strat. Love it. Fender Strats rule. And then when I got hooked up with Gibson, I started playing this Les Paul standard on all my blues gigs. It's unbelievable. Like, can't really beat it. Les Paul is a truly great guitar. Oh, and then I guess I do have like a couple Les Pauls now that are with the Floyd Rose.
Really? Do you like those?
Yeah, they're sick.
Oh yeah, I think I played one of them.
Yeah.
Awesome. It's a nice guitar. It had a thinner body too, right? It's like
thinner body. I don't mind. You know, I'm not trying to break my back. And then what else? Oh, I got I got that one. I got this other one. I'm working on this weird Gibson M3 project. That's just a weird guitar, and it's been a lot of work. But I like the little, you know, project bullshit. That's fun.
Yeah.
But other than that,
like your live gig, what are you running? Like, what's your normal setup that you would have?
I like simple, because when something goes wrong, it's easy to fix. You know? I just run, you know, from a wireless into a volume pedal, because I don't do channel switching. Maybe I should, but I like to roll the volume off with the pedal. And then, because it then cleans it up, but it's still a little dirty. So I use that channel switch straight into like lately I've been using a Mesa Mark V. Into just a Mesa vintage cab. And then I have an effects loop of just simple shit like reverb, delay, and like this combo pedal that's a chorus / I think it's a tremolo or something like that. I don't know. And I use that just to like make some weird noises. I'd like to get maybe one more, maybe like a flange or something. Or phaser. I don't know. I'm not really a big pedals guy.
I don't know. Everybody needs a flange, I think.
Yeah, flange is cool. I think I might get a flange. Just treat myself.
There's always a place to insert that somewhere. Yeah. Especially if you're you guys, you know? That would fit anywhere.
Well, that's Steve takes care of all like the, you know, bass sound.
Yeah.
He's got a lot going on. I know.
He's very good at it. You know, he's very good at like building sounds.
Yeah.
And I'm trying. Yeah, I got to get better at that, because I build sounds, but mostly with the guitar, you know, like I'll create effects with just like the volume pedal and the delay. And then I'll take the microphone and like rub it against the strings to create some weird, you know, New York City traffic noises or whatever.
Right.
It's like fucked up shit like that. I don't know.
What's funny you say about New York City. I know you, one of you guys had said to me, we are the soundtrack of New York City. And can you elaborate on what that means?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you've ever spent any time here, you know, it just sounds like noise and chaos. And I was like, I guess it's like kind of trying to figure out what your band is supposed to, what the goal is or what your vision is. And, you know, we play a lot of different styles, but the truth is that we are from New York City. And so writing about subjects within that the lore and world of that place will always be authentic, you know, and we're not singing about like, you know, I love Immortal, but I can't the forests and fjords and shit because I don't know anything about that stuff. So it's not my world, you know?
Right.
And I think it's important to be authentic. So New York's my hometown, and I'll always be able to draw upon the darkness that is its entire existence, past, present, and future. So there's an infinite supply of evil and heaviness and chaos that I can rally. And I'm not the only one. You know, there's a long pedigree of musicians using New York City as a soundscape, and yeah, this also was just a tool for avant-garde music.
Hmm.
You know, 70s, 80s, 60s, 90s. Always people have. It's the only good thing about this city is that you can pretty much play, like, get the best players in the world. You know, like, you need, like, you want to get a unbelievable trumpet player for your record, like, you can find 10 that are the most savage cats, you know,
Yeah.
like that. I
Yeah.
think is really makes this city very valuable, and I think that's why people come here, is because it's a hub of musical idea sharing.
Right. Right. That's cool. And I heard him, I heard that quote also, and it's like, as soon as you hear that, you can kind of get the sound in your head. If
Yeah,
you grew up in a city, you know, the street sweepers at 2 o'clock in the morning, the garbage
yeah.
trucks, the
I
traffic,
mean,
fire trucks.
yeah. I mean, I got to sell you on this concept of chaos,
Yeah.
and I need to put some sort of background behind the music to give it legs.
Right.
And I think saying, "Oh yeah, this is a band that's from New York City, and they sound like, you know, you're just in the middle of all this traffic and chaos, like
Right.
that level of stress." Okay, that makes sense. Now I understand going into this, you know, sonic experience, why it's like this.
Right. Right.
I think
That's
that's
cool.
important to give a little context.
So let me ask you too, if both of you play Floyd Roses. I had a conversation. I don't know if you've seen this product yet, but the locking nut part of Floyd Rose, GravTech has come out with their version of the locking nut that doesn't require the Allen screws, if you will, to lock down with the locking blocks. What's your all's thought on that? Just out of curiosity, I just had this conversation with GravTech earlier, and I'm just kind of curious how nostalgic we are about the blocks.
Sounds great. Didn't know about it.
Yeah, me
Yeah,
neither.
I knew it would be a flop of a question if nobody's seen it but me. I'd be like, well, I'll take a shot.
Bro,
And see
I
what you
don't.
think.
I'm no one's like, oh, it's so much better when it's annoying. You know what I mean?
Well,
Yeah.
and when I talk to them, I'm going to try a couple out. Alex, maybe we'll try one on your guitars or one of mine. I have a
Yeah,
couple that I
I'm
just
curious.
ordered that are coming in.
It
But I
works.
talked to the tech for GravTech, and I asked him what players think about it. I just know both of you all play Floyd's. I was curious to what, because sometimes it doesn't matter what it is, we get caught up in nostalgia, and somebody will look at something new and go, oh, now you need locking tuners, but you have this thing. Maybe it works better, but it doesn't look like it did, right?
Right. I mean,
So
I'm definitely more interested in keeping the guitar as organic as possible.
exactly.
I don't use any active electronics. I don't use any sort of like, I like the concept of just like wood and steel and magnets, and that's what's creating this sound. That
Yep.
gets me really, yeah, that gets me real hard. But like beyond that, like any contraption, yeah, like throw it on, whatever, you know,
Oh
like,
yeah. Yeah.
because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, if it sounds good, it sounds good. Who cares?
Yeah, whatever works. I mean, if it's going to improve something,
Right.
know.
I think this is more maybe a little sound. They say that it brightens it up just a little bit, but it's tonal stability or tuning stability is more what they're aiming for with that.
That's all that matters, is that if I
Yeah,
pull it
yeah.
out of the case and it's still in tune, then who cares, you know?
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
easier than with the little Allen key, I'll get one. I'll throw it on.
And that's exactly
Oh,
what he
well,
said.
it has to come in gold too. That's the other thing.
That's right. Spray paint. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that was a half of a flop of a question, but some of this is about me getting information from players that are playing out that helps me, do a better job on people's guitars when they come in here.
For sure.
So, and you mentioned that I was thinking this earlier when you said a Floyd Rose on a Les Paul. I have never had one of those in my shop.
You know who has one? Alex Lifeson.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
right.
exactly, exactly. I wonder if
That's
he'll bring his in here.
his
Probably
signature
not.
model has it, and then they made from that. I think they made like a standard production model that has the
Yeah.
Floyd Rose, and
Yeah.
it's great. And then they also Gibson also owns Kramer, so they gave me this Super Strat Kramer that I really like because
Right.
it's in all gold, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And it's great. Kramers are really, really underrated, I think,
Yeah.
in the guitar world. They're very stripped and bare bones. Like mine has
Mhm.
one pickup. But it's a Duncan JB, so okay, fine.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
24 frets. They're all perfectly, polished. It's a great guitar, and I think it's like $900 or something. I don't know.
Yeah, there's something about having that, just one pickup, that those, because I have a few guitars with just, one humbucker, and I'd like to get someone with the P90s, like just one with the
Yeah,
P90s.
P90s
I always love the sound of those pickups, but there's something unique, and I think maybe has a lot to do with you got maybe more wood, on the instrument where it resonates more. I don't know, because you can compare things, and say, well, this sustains more because of this, but then you get a guitar where there's a lot of wood cut out of it and it sustains like crazy and sounds super thick. And
Right.
so there's, you never know. It's just whatever magic that happens when that guitar is made, it sounds the way it sounds.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's all just random and
I think it makes you play differently too, like having just the one pickup, because that's all you're stuck with. So you kind of got to make whatever sound out of it with your fingers to
I
wherever
definitely
you're going.
like putting restraints on what I can do. I have this mentality always, like if you want to think outside the box, you got to know where the box is, And so it's really important to me to be able to not have full range of possibilities. So I don't play an 8-string. I don't, have 7 pickups in my guitar. Like I got one pickup, 24 frets, E standard, Floyd Rose. If I want to go lower than, E2 or whatever the fuck, like I got to bend down and find that pitch, or just don't find that pitch and just, go into the depths. And then that's kind of like, that's where I'm at. And I like that. I like being restrained creatively in certain ways that forces me to get creative with my playing and stuff like that,
Right. Well, and it sounds like I hear a lot of guys that, and rightfully so, I'm not knocking them for this, but a lot of guys they need everything perfect with a guitar, and I get it. I come out of public safety, and we're just kind of wired that way. But it sounds like with you, it's like those happy areas that aren't necessarily 100% in tune. That's like the magic spot for you sometimes. That's where the
Well,
magic
yeah, and I've
happens.
learned to appreciate that,
Yeah.
I think when I was younger, I probably was more like that. Like it's got to be perfect. And
Yeah.
then, being with my band that spends all this time in the avant-garde and the jazz scene, and we would play something and and something I'd be like, oh, that sucks. And they would be like, what are you talking about? That's the best part.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I realized oh, maybe there is some magic in making mistakes on the record and stuff like that.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
It's
I mean, you
human.
mentioned Jimi Hendrix. He was known for that. He could be out of tune or play in the wrong key, and he would just bend that note until it got right where
Live
it was
records are
supposed
way
to be,
faster. I love that shit.
Yeah.
Well, and it's those little imperfections,
community.
like wish you were here, the throat clearing at the beginning, something as simple as that. We're all just used to it. It's just a thing that happened, and it's cool.
Exactly. I think that's important. And, I think when I was younger, I realized it a bit. I was like, I can practice as much as I want. I'm never going to truly be one of those players that just hit everything perfectly. I know guys like that are just they just sound, when they play, they just sound like machines. And I always wanted it to be like that, but I don't think it's in my personality. I'm too fast and loose. So I was like, why don't I just lean heavy into that and just play everything with the tremolo bar, make it sound like I'm drunk, and just and just make that my guitar personality. And obviously there's a lot of people that think that I'm the worst guitar player alive, but I don't mind. Like, at least I'm doing something my own,
Yeah.
Well, when you say that, and for me, and I bring this up all the time, is that the most important thing in a guitar player for me is identity and feeling and the playing. And I always like to kind of use this comparison as I'm a big fan of Steve Howe from Yes. But if you compare, Steve Howe or say Jeff Beck to like a Jimmy Page, now Jimmy Page was never the guitar player that technically as Steve Howe or Jeff Beck, but there's a lot of feeling and emotion in his playing and his songwriting. And, so and any one of those guys, I could be, I could hear some music being played kind of down the street or whatever, and I can immediately, pick up on who that is, and that's more important, I think, than anything is identity as a player, because there's a million guys out there can do, all kinds of flashy stuff, but it really doesn't mean anything,
No, because if they all can do it, then I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and that's what getting back to the band as a whole. I mean, you guys are completely unique, and especially in a time where we live in a time with music, it's just a lot of kind of going backwards and copycats, and you guys are doing something fresh, that's yours, and you guys create your own world, and that's what for me what it's always been about with music is just kind of creating my own thing and to continue to progress and get better at that. And so saying is like getting better. Like, do you guys have any aspirations of like where you see the next record going, or
I can't say, but it's definitely gonna surprise people because it's we always want to try different things. It's not, I can easily confidently say that it won't sound like the previous records.
That's great to hear.
We got to mix it up. We can't.
Yeah.
We can't.
And you don't want to repeat yourself. It's like you can have your thing that you do, but you can evolve with that.
It's gonna the new direction will be fresh, and that's something that I think we as a band need, and something that is important for the band to grow, because it's important if you're going to put out a new record, like you're either putting out a new record so that you can go on tour and play all your old songs, or you're putting out a new record because you have something to say and it's something that you really believe in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we don't have any real hits, so I think we still have some important stuff to write.
Well, you're consistent and not being consistent, right?
Exactly.
Let's be different. I mean, make a T-shirt that says that. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, it's important. I think
that was an epiphany, Alex.
I'm into that. I'm not interested in if you really like Vile Luxury or Alphaville, then great. That album still exists. Like you can still go listen.
Yeah.
It would be lame if I tried to copy it, in any way, I think. And there's too many bands that just kind of hang out in their own comfort zone, I think.
Yeah.
So speaking of the future, what do you guys got coming up next? I know you guys got some tours
glad
coming
you
up.
asked. Yeah, we are definitely working behind the scenes on new material. And we do have an upcoming tour with Abbott and Black Anvil, which I know you're boys with.
Yeah. Awesome.
And I'm very excited about this. I, obviously huge Immortal fan, and pretty nervous, like.
That's a great tour.
I think.
Really good. Yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty excited to hit the road and play these shows. I'm, I don't think we're going to do that much touring this year, and so the shows we do play, gotta make them count, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About that, I think we're gonna do probably August festival run of sorts, and then maybe a few things in the fall, and that'll be that. But and then I just got off the road with my other band, Folterkammer, which is like a opera meets black metal sort of project.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How was that? How did that go for you guys?
Great. It was our first tour, so it was very much like a proof of concept sort of a journey, and I'm very, very happy with the results because it's a project that I just really enjoy. I love the music. It's very much a departure from Imperial. It's very diatonically, tonally center, and and I think that I'm also not the singer, so it's just great to be on stage and play my guitar. And for me, all the parts are pretty easy, so I just enjoy the music and don't have to like stress about everything. I don't have to wear a mask. It's kind of a dream come true.
Okay,
Awesome.
so I have to, Alex, you know him. I have to. I'm not going to ask you about the damn mask. I know you get asked a million bazillion times, and you're probably over it. And I know you think it's a pain in the ass. You said that. But here's my question. I mean, obviously, you know, does it get hot? Yes, it gets hot in there. Is it cumbersome? It's got to be cumbersome. That's common sense stuff. But the echo, right? It seems like when you would sing, there would be an echo, or like
there's tiny holes in the mouth part.
Excuse me.
There's tiny holes in the mouth of the mask,
sure,
that allow air to pass through to this mic. But we definitely do struggle a bit. And I think my goal is to address that in future versions of the masks.
Right.
So that I can sing. I don't know. It's a difficult challenge because I love the visual of like, you know, this mask that's not, the mouth is closed and you don't see anything moving, and it's just like, what the fuck, you know?
It's very
like
mysterious.
So much creepier than if it had an open mouth or if you could see my lips moving or any of that shit. I think it's so much creepier. So I'm really staunch and standing on that idea, but I have a few ideas I think I can do to make it so that air can pass through a little better. But at the same time, like whatever, like my vocals sound a little different on the record than they do live. Like it still sounds like tortured and crazy because I'm screaming through a mask, you know, so it's still cool.
Yeah. I was afraid you were going to roll your eyes when I asked that question, because I saw you tell somebody, yeah, it's a pain in the ass. And I was like, yeah, that's a no shitter. It's got to be a pain in the ass. And,
for sure.
And, you know, communicating with the band members, you know, that, but
we can't talk to each other the whole show.
What's that?
We can't talk to each other the whole show. All we have is our instruments, really.
But it adds this whole layer of mystery, man. You're dead on the money with that.
Yeah,
like especially
I gotta sell this music somehow.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta convince someone who's never seen us before. Like that was like the Immolation tour was like that. You know, when we opened for you guys, it was so much like, it was kind of fun because it was like not a lot of the people there knew who we were, and we really had to prove ourselves every night. And it was so cool because some people were like, "What the fuck? This is crazy." Yeah. And then I remember seeing some guy just go like this. He goes,
you know, there are those people that I love the fact of you know, especially when you're kind of like the black sheep of a package, and you kind of scare the living daylights out of people. I love to see them.
But it was cool to, you know, we had to earn ourselves or earn our place and really convince people, and I think that's cool because then it makes us work harder and play. And, you know. Well,
you guys went over great. I mean, every night.
At the end of the day,
there was definitely some shows that were like, you know, really
came out on a couple occasions, man. That was sick.
Yeah, I did. I came out, I think, twice. I think, and the first one was a little rough. Second time around, I felt more in my comfort zone.
I mean, that kind of stuff I love, and I don't think it's.
Oh yeah.
It's not so common.
And I wore the mask, you know.
It's
Look, and I saw it when it happened. He posted it on social media, and I didn't really understand what was going on. But man, it was so far out of the norm for Alex. It was fun to watch.
Well,
Oh,
yeah, I
it was
mean,
a
we were like, we kind of threw him in the deep end. I was like, here's the section you're going to play over.
Yeah.
It's vaguely an E, not
Yeah.
really, like first chord is, an E augmented. Okay. And then I was like, shred, just do whatever you want. Like,
Yeah,
feel
you
it
just go for it, see what happens, like see it at the end,
Yeah. I think that's cool. And I think that's kind of exciting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's always fun for fans when you see that kind of coming together of different guys from different bands and everything,
Yeah. Like I said, we're entertainers,
Yeah.
And I like that with tour packages too. I like to have diverse, tour packages, and I really, I'm not really too much into where it's just like, the same type of style of music for every band,
Yeah, that's a bad bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll drain real quick.
Yeah, well, I guess that'll be about it. But I just want to, thank you again, Zach, for coming on tonight. It was
my pleasure.
Thank you. It was great meeting you.
Last night I was fried.
Oh, no worries, man. But everybody look out for these guys out on tour with Abbott and Black Anvil. That's going to be a sick bill. Don't miss it. And look out for some new music in the future as well. And thanks again, Zach, for coming by.
Thanks for tuning in.
Appreciate it.